Hello and welcome to Dell's Gaming. I'm Dell and this is From the Depths Designer, and in this little episode I want to carry on an idea that I had after the last few little battles in an area which I have not seen many From the Depths ships actually really look at and investigate, and that's airships. Now, most of the airships as such designs I've seen in the game are really actually just helicarriers. They're usually turbine driven. At most you might have a few balloons on there to get you out of trouble, but most of the time they are actually held aloft by some sort of thruster. And what I thought I'd like to have a look at is the use of some of the in the air section. We can't use it on this particular bit, but the helium pump. Now, the helium pump is an interesting little item in that it will produce buoyancy above the water in any any volume that is put inside that doesn't have like an exit for the gas, so basically acting as a balloon. So an example is over here. I've created a few different structures from different materials. Now the basic area is the same size, so here we've got a metal container. We'll just bring this up here so we can see the size of it. So it's about 2,000 blocks, and they've got a helium pump in here, which has got 392 meters. It's set at a full capacity, but it's not actually coming out of the water at all. Here we've got a wooden version. If we go in here, we can see we've got a 280 buoyancy once it's out of the water, and these are the same size. They're all 4x4 inside. 4 high, it's actually 5 wide. They're all the same. Now the wooden structure will come out of the water, and you can see I've been added a few extra points on here, which is basically the carrying capacity, I suppose, or the lifting capacity. Now if I take one of these blocks off, you'll see it will start to slowly go up. Yes, we can see that end is now coming up. If I take another one off, that's it, it's starting to raise. Now, but with wood, although it is very cheap, only 357, whereas the metal was 2,000, it's not really going to carry much weight. So, the next obvious one is light alloy. So again, we have a 280 block area, but you can see how much wood there is here, which is acting as its cargo or its lifting capacity. If I take a couple of blocks off, you'll notice there we are, it's starting to rise up. So because of the sheer weight to size capacity, the ideal material is light blocks. Light blocks? That's totally the wrong word. Actually, light blocks might actually be a good one. But light alloy. Now, the other good thing about light alloy is it's actually quite armoured. So it's got a 13 armour. Now, here I've just used standard 4-meter blocks, and if I used other components such as the the downslopes or triangle corners, etc., we can most probably get a better weight ratio. But this is very expensive. 1,800, not quite as much as the metal down here at 2,000, but very much close to it. So, okay, this is where we're going to go with, and one of the reasons I guess people don't make these is they can get very expensive. Now, I made a couple of other examples. So here we've got, and it's up at about 250, 270. That seems to be about the height that once you get a positive, it doesn't go above about this height. this is sort of like a gondola style. So to lift this size metal block, which is itself 200 cubic meters, again another 4x4, 4x5, takes a volume of 1600 cubic meters. So we can see the size, and if I look at that, that's 8,000 material. Now, yes, we can reduce that a little bit, but it's still an idea of scale. So this is one way of doing it. Is imagine this is elongated. Is have a balloon on top, and basically a gondola which is armoured, which has all of our weapons on. The other option is a more integrated, sort of like, or this is actually somewhere in between the two, more similar to a Falkenheim, where the main inner structure, that the balloon area is actually contained within the main structure. You can see here it's got a good armouring around the outside. We could put equipment in this area, but you can also see the scale of this. I've actually this is split into multiple sections for ballast and control. So it's not just one big area. That's about 1600, yeah, 2000. And down here we've got another, where are we? Another 2,800. And then there's some small areas on the side. So actually making this a little wider has been of benefit. But this would be a small part of a very big ship. And the size of it, 28,000. So you can see this is going to become a very expensive ship. In the end, you'd be looking at just the basics of this would be, say, a 300,000 material ship before you even start thinking about weaponry and other expensive stuff. So I'm going to try and build a cost-efficient ship, and also make it, the plan is to make it reasonably fast so they can get out of trouble and stay at range away from the enemy. And it will be a carrier primarily, so it's going to hold the ships, the drones basically. It's going to have to take a little bit of damage, and it's going to have to be self-righting. So I'm going to try and not use any propellers except for some basic propulsion. So if we start with a basis, what I'm going to do is we've got two types of design. One is, as you saw, is the gondola style, which might be a good idea for the starting point of this ship, and that's purely due to size, really. I think making it a balloon which has a gondola below will be more efficient for small size vessel. So I'm going to start with the balloon area and basically build up a section of balloon which I can then replicate. So we're going to have to start off. So I'm actually going to change that. No, I think we'll stay with this for the moment. I was thinking about having a central core to the balloon, which is slightly more armoured. But okay, so we've gone there. Now I'm already going to start using some lighter materials. So we'll start, and it'll also give it some shape. So this will be a bit expensive, as you can imagine. I might be able to reduce that actually a little bit more, because we don't need that all the way through. So this is going to be vulnerable to certain, being hit. We're going to have to rely on not so much armor as defensive measures, I think, on this ship. So let me finish off this starting point. We'll see how expensive it becomes, and then we will build the main balloon, and then we'll look at the gondolas on there. So I will be back in a minute or two. Balloon design I'm going to go for. It's going to get extended somewhat, but this is running and gaining height with just a few blocks, which is like a must be don't know how I'm just set up the armor, a mixture of wood and a bit of metal. We'll go for lightweight where we can, using half-size blocks, but we're going to have some structural integrity of having some normal metal where we can, just to add that little extra support and strength where possible. But this is actually floating up with only 19% helium buoyancy, so that means there's got quite a. This could be, well, what's that, 5 times bigger, and we'll still get positive lift. So that's a good sign. Now I'll extend this all the way out. Site value wise, it is a little high. I've used slopes where I can here, and I might try and improve on this a little bit as well, this sloping here, to try and reduce some of the blocks used. Now this is only very thinly armoured, so we're going to have multiple buoyancy areas effectively, so that if one gets hit, the others will be able to continue lifting, because at the moment, obviously, one of the issues is if you even get a single puncture in here. So if I just go one puncture there, this basically is now offering 0 buoyancy, so 0 lift, so it will just fall out of the sky until your little repair bot comes along and goes, oh, repair, which might take a little while to happen. Then once that happens, it will start to fill up again and will gain height. But so just one little hit with a missile or a cannon will basically bring this down. Not good. So by segmenting this into lots of smaller buoyancy areas, and obviously have multiple of these going along the length of the ship, if one of these gets hit, hopefully we either suffer a say a 10-15, I'd like to see a 10% loss of balloon area and still be able to maintain height in some way. That would be a good aim at the moment. So okay, I'm going to halt it here and I will cut once I've extended this out a little bit further. Must we create this as a sub-object and extend this out. Not sure how far I'm going to go on this. Most probably it's going to be an expensive ship, I know that already, so maybe put, I think, about 8 of these sections for the main area. Then I'll smooth off the nose, one to be at the nose, and on the rear put some fins on a rear section, and we'll see how we go from there. I'm not sure how effective this will be, but it's going to be fun trying. Anyway, see you in a bit. And welcome back to what I have so far christened as the Mayfly, after one of the first British dirigibles and airships, rather than Zeppelin, which most people have obviously called their ships. So it's quite large, as you can see. Actual sizes are 133 length, but the main bit is the cost is 145,000. It's quite able to withstand a fair bit of damage. You know, I put it up against Congas and Barracudas, and it's actually a combination of both of them, and it works quite well. So what have we got as far as weaponry? Now, a couple of the changes is I've gone for a advanced cannon. So this is a dual advanced cannon in here on a little front turret, mainly aimed at ships that get within 3,000 meters. It's got some fairly high velocity, high armor piercing shot to get through any attackers that get in close. So the basic concept is that this is using a naval AI for its movement rather than aerial AI. So set for roughly 3,000 meters. So it's going to try and keep around the 3,000 meters. Anything that gets within 3,000, then it starts to defend itself with the cannons, but the main force is the aircraft, and they'll attack anything beyond well, at any range, but beyond 3,000, of course. It's also got I've used the top of the balloon section to create some very long-range cruise missiles to take out. So these ones are actually quite long-range cruise missiles for taking out large ships, and these are some slightly shorter range ones but a bit faster for any aerial craft that come in. We've got the massed lasers for anything that gets really close, so they do quite well actually. Very surprising. They, you know, with a massed amount of lasers like this, anything that gets within about 500 meters gets, well, frankly, taken out. What else have we got in here that's of interest? Leveling system. That might be of interest. Basically, the ship may pitch up and down as blocks get removed from the balloon section, which means it will start to pitch forward or pitch backwards. So what we have at the front and rear is some control blocks. I'll bring back the view, which, as you can see here, if the pitch angle goes below 0, it sets this helium up to 100%, which it's running at the moment. If it goes the opposite way, it sets it low. So that's basically trying to keep the pitch of the balloon at around the 0. So you can see actually on the right hand side, it's going around the -1. It's got a slightly nose down attitude, generally due to the amount of metal etc on the front. So very often these front helium sections in here are running at 100% most of the time, because it's trying to pitch forward a little bit. So you can see it's going on, it then turns itself off. And for roll, the side sections have a similar factor. So if the roll of the ship goes, in this case, positive, it will try to increase the balloon helium content on this side of the ship, and the same on the opposite side. If the roll goes negative, it will increase it on this side of the ship. So that will try to, as blocks get taken out and it starts to roll, or due to turning, it will quite happily turn around. So the guidance system, I think I already did, about using the control blocks on the two spin effects here. So that's working quite nicely at directing it around. The aircraft are all controlled from the center area. I did a little bit of a cutout. They sometimes do still collide with each other. I have got timers on the docking stations, so they release at about a 2 seconds delay, but occasionally they still do hit each other. I haven't set up all of the spawners etc. for the aircraft, because I'll do that when it's launched into the campaign rather than at this stage, because I've also made a few changes to the aircraft, the Swifts and the Swallows, just to make them a little bit better. So let's just go up against something just to see what it's like in combat. So let me just get back onto the ship so you can see it. Now this will be fighting at range. It's not intended to get close, so whenever I start a battle I will tend to try and start it from a distance. So let's just bring something in, and we'll start with a ship. So something quite heavy, like a plunderer. Now obviously we have got, where's that really good ship? I'm trying to think, but we'll give it some. I don't want to take it against that just at the moment. We've got the crossbones, which is obviously, but that's another level above. I think that's a bit big for this particular ship. So, but I think a plunderer could be a good test. It's quite it's godly, quite high points, and it's something that we're likely to possibly come up against. And I'll give that also a river home and a marauder. So we've given it quite a few points. Let's see how it goes. So the ship's aircraft should now start to release in twos. There we go. They're being released and making their way over, and you can see the very long range missiles are being fired out. Now they're very slow. They will only fire at slow craft. But let's now go and have a look at what we're up against. So the plunderer is firing in. See how accurate he is. Oh, he's way off at the moment. So the aircraft, as they come in, they're going to take potentially a bit of damage. Now, again, they are using the fact that they're quite manoeuvrable and quite fast. Now, I'm guessing they're mainly going to be attacking the plunderer here as it comes in. Excuse any slight little lagging parts. It is unfortunately, there's a lot of missiles and a lot of explosions happening here, and I've been running the game for quite a few hours. Yep, the missiles are coming in from the Swallows. A few seem to have just had a bit of an issue, but most of them are coming in, and the lasers coming in from the Swallows as well. So they're taking a lot of the attention away from the main ship, and here we've got some of the... no, I think they're actually not from the cruises. You can see the cruise missiles are still on their way in. The aircraft have got here first. I think this is some of the first ones, actually, possibly. Some of the first of the main ship's big missiles are now coming in. For some reason they seem to be going against the river home. Must have it's detected that as maybe it's all the little small guns on it. But either way, they're coming in. Now these are just explosive and frag missiles. Their aim is just to do a lot of damage, at long range. They're not especially big, they're only an 8 block missile. I could make a bigger missile, but I thought 8's good as a basic cruise missile that just comes in with a lot of them basically. I like missiles. I do use them a lot in my battles and in the past, and I know they've been turned down quite considerably over the last few updates, but I still like to try and make the best I can of them. And we've got some torpedoes coming in as well. So yeah, that's quite happily blasting it with his missiles, and we should still have plenty of the ships coming overhead as well. Yeah, they've all... Now, it's expected that some of the aircraft are going to take damage. Unfortunately, that is, I wouldn't say inevitable, but, well, it is inevitable. Damage will happen. But the plunderer, yeah, that plunderer has been taken out quite nicely. You can see now we've just got almost a steady flow of the cruise missiles coming in against larger vessels. If the vessel goes above about 10 meters a second, the cruisers won't attack it. It is against slow vessels, or possibly vessels that have been disabled by the aircraft. Looks like we've lost one of our aircraft, and now we're actually getting some shots coming in from the cannon as well. A few misses, but we are at an extreme range. A few bounces as well, but occasionally a good hit going straight through. Basically, it's using a lot of the shells are heat rounds, so if it hits and they explode, it will penetrate quite deeply. So let's just check how the ships are doing. So the Marauder here, I think that's enough just to show the capability. It is, the aircraft are still getting taken out occasionally. That's life as a carrier aircraft, unfortunately. They are a expendable item. Some of the anti-aircraft missiles and anti-aircraft guns do actually still quite take them out, unfortunately. Okay, enough of seeing plunderers getting taken out, but we can see the amount of missiles that's coming in. So yes, I am using like a long-range missile spam to take out missiles, and the aircraft to basically slow them down and basically annoy the enemy. We'll see how this will work in the campaign. I won't be able to bring it in for a while because of the sheer... let's bring the menu up again, the UI. Sheer cost, 145,000. That's about double some of the ships we were looking at. Now the good bit is that you could have this... Now the aircraft themselves are fairly cheap, so adding them onto it isn't going to cost me too much, for want of a better word. So that would be good, but it will still end up, the fleet would be end up about 160, 170,000. Some of the other ships I have built to be a carrier, or my drone motherships, were around the 60, 70,000, so and I was struggling to get them in. But I'm determined to try and get this built if I possibly can. And this isn't the largest possible one. I might go for a larger one as well. This is stage 1. It's still ruddy big, but it's small in comparison to the one that I have in my head, where this whole area, we're going to possibly move away from the gondola style here to the more shaped area where the balloon and the main section are all in one. But that will be even more expensive. But we'll see. We'll see if we can use that to take out most of the deep water guard. In the campaign, though, I think I will build one more ship, possibly a submarine, because submarines are a bit of a hard counter to the deep water guard. Submarines can be very effective against the deep water guard. And I think I will build a small submarine fleet to go out and harass the enemy and push back at the border, so that we get less actual attacks in at the beginning. But anyway, hopefully that's a little interesting. As I say, a dirigible that's actually using the helium pumps rather than balloons, or using you know, spin blocks to stay. That's actually not even. There's something wrong there. Anyway, not using spin blocks to stay level. So I'm quite interested in that. I've just noticed there's one of these is not level. Is it the one on the top? No, maybe just me. That looked like they were odd sized, but I don't think they are. I think it's just me because I was at an angle. Anyway, sorry. Wandering off on my brain as always. Anyway, dirigible, the Mayfly. Hopefully I can get it into the game, and hopefully we can put it up against some deep water guard. Any comments? Please leave them below. But until next time, have fun.